there everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist and welcome back to my channel. Those of you here for the first time, welcome. My name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm also a writer working on my first couple of novels for publication. And on my channel, I like to talk about what I consider to be the heart of writing, and that's the characters. And the heart of the characters lies in their psychology. So that's the angle I like to take with pretty much everything I talk about on my channel. So today I'm actually doing a tag. Julian Greystoke did it first, and it was based off of a response by Merphy Napier. So I will link both of them in the description below, and you guys, of course, are welcome to do this tag if you so choose, or if you would rather just respond in the comments, that's fine too. So basically this tag is just on your book or writing preferences, and I thought it was kind of fun, so why not? So first question, what is your favorite point of view? First, second, or third? For myself, third. Specifically, I like either third limited or third omnipotent, which I know are very different, but I tend to like them both about the same. I don't mind first person if it's done well. I used to actually really hate first person, but I have since kind of fallen back in love with it because I realized I really didn't hate first person, I just hated badly written first person. Second person, cannot stand second person. Doesn't mean it can't be well written, just means it's not for me. For me, it feels very awkward, and it feels like the writer has to make a ton of assumptions when they write in second person, and it just feels weird when I read it, and I don't like writing it because it always feels choppy to me, so that one would come last. What is your favorite format? Paperback, hardback, audiobook, or ebook? And rank them from your favorite to your least favorite. I will consume a book in almost any format. I think my favorite is probably, I'm gonna be weird and say hardback. I do like paperback almost about the same, but the thing I like about hardback is it always comes with a dust cover, which is a built-in bookmark. That's what I like to use a dust cover for. And they just they can take a beating more than my paperbacks do. I usually have to replace my paperbacks after a couple of years, especially if it's a book that I read a lot. I think I've bought Lord of the Rings like 5 times because I am just not nice to the paperbacks because I read them so much. After that, probably, what do I like more, audiobook or ebook? I'll say ebook comes first, simply because this is actually my favorite way to test whether I like a book or not. I have Kindle Unlimited, so I will usually start reading a book on my Kindle, and if I like it, I'll buy a paperback copy or a hardback copy of it. Audiobook. I like audiobooks. They're actually one of my favorite things to fall asleep to. So I have nothing against them. I just like the other formats a little more. My husband is visually impaired, so audiobook is mainly how he consumes his reading. So I am all for audiobooks. I know there's a debate, is audiobook really reading? Well, I bring up the point that when we teach kids something, we have them read, we have them write, we have them say, and that's because we incorporate things differently depending on how we're doing it. So you're still incorporating the book, you're just doing it in a different fashion. I'm gonna call that reading because you're still consuming the book. Number 3, do you prefer character-based or plot-based books? Character all the way. Character is why I love books. That's why I fall in love with the world. You can have a completely horrible plot, you can have a completely horrible world, but if your characters are solid, I'm probably gonna like it. I used to have a saying, and I used to have it printed on like little business cards. I need to get some more merch with that. But it basically was my philosophy on characters, which was can't talk today. It's early. Good characters can save a poor plot, but a good plot cannot salvage poor characters. And I still wholeheartedly believe that. Number 4, do you care about prose? Yes and no. I love reading unique prose, but I do think it can be overdone. I also am not necessarily going to ditch a book just because prose is weird. There are certain aspects of prose that I really like, though. Like, one that I don't see done often anymore is where the narrator is written as if they are a character, but they are not a character in the novel, but they will still directly talk to you. And I don't know, I think that it gives me a Tolkien-ish vibe, which I always prefer, and I don't know, it makes me feel closer to the book, even if it's in third person, so that's kind of what I like. Number 5, how introspective do you like your characters? Oh, I love it when they go introspective. You have to have a balance, though, and this is actually something that I think sometimes I struggle with when I write, is just because I'm all about why characters think how they do. I like to spend a lot of time in their head, and so I have to remember, I have to show, I need to get out of their head and go into the action too. So I definitely like it when they go introspective, but I recognize as a reader you can do it too much. So you really need to find a good balance if you're going to be doing that. Number 6, how do you like your relationships? Healthy. This is an interesting question. From a romantic perspective, I like sensitive guys. I like, what do they call them? Cinnamon rolls. That's one of my favorites. But I like a couple that work together. I like it where you can see how they balance each other out. Those are my favorites. But my favorite relationships in books are not romantic relationships. They are platonic. I like parent-child relationships. I like friendship. I like things like that. Those are my favorites. So if a book has both romantic and platonic, I'm gonna really like it. But I will probably lean more towards the platonic than the romantic. Number 7, do you like a lot or a little bit of description? It really depends on the story. If it's a story that takes place in our world, I usually prefer less description, mainly because I already know kind of what a city looks like. I know kind of what a countryside looks like, that kind of thing. I still want specifics on, what makes this one unique, but you don't have to spend so much time describing things if it takes place in our world. Now, if it's in a fantasy world, I want a lot more description, especially if it's one that's very different from our world, because to me, that's what really pulls me in. And I especially like it when an author will use other senses besides hearing and sight to describe something. I love it when they incorporate smell, because I think that is a sense. It doesn't get used very much, and it can be very powerful. So depends on the book, but I won't turn down a lot of description, but make sure that you're not using description that's superfluous. Number 8, do you prefer standalones or series? Honestly, I kind of like them both the same, but for different reasons. I've gotten so I like a lot of standalones recently, and I'm writing quite a few standalones, but I still like series. I'm one of those people that I kind of take books in series on their own. So if there's a bad book in a series, it's not necessarily going to ruin it for me. The exception to this is if the last book is bad. That will ruin a series for me. But otherwise, I can generally say, okay, not the best book in the series, but what's the next one going to be like? So that's kind of how I tackle it. So I like them both. They both do great things. Within a series, I will prefer, obviously, if each book is good, but if you have a couple bad ones in there, it's not going to turn me away unless it's the last one. Other thing, I don't like series that are unfinished. I usually won't start a series unless there's at least 2 books out. And if it's a series that people have been saying the last book hasn't come out for a while, I may not start it. I don't like unfinished series. They kind of drive me nuts. So there's that too. Number 9, do you prefer single or multiple point of view? I don't know. I like them both. I do think multiple point of view tends to work better in fantasy, especially if you want to show different parts of your world, so I prefer it there. But if it's a short, like, self-contained story, single usually works better, but I mean, honestly, it really depends. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. If it works for the book, it's probably going to work for me. I'm not super picky on this. Okay, last question. If you could only choose one, would you choose a strong beginning, a strong middle, or a strong end? Well, not a beginning, because beginnings are hard, and I will give a lot of leeway with a poor beginning because they're hard to write. So I would probably pick a strong end. Middle, I also give a little bit of leeway because sometimes you have lagging middle syndrome and it's hard, and no matter what you do, sometimes it just kind of lingers there. Even some of my favorite books have a little bit of lagging middle syndrome. But if a book ends poorly, it is probably going to keep me from rereading it. And it can sometimes sour my enjoyment of it, depending on how bad it is. If it's a really bad ending, I might sell the book and never read it again. So if I had to pick one, I would say to end on a strong note, which is hard to do. I mean, I think aside from the beginning, the end is also very hard to do, especially if you're doing the end to a series. Those are hard to get right because you have so much buildup because you have multiple books, not just one book. And so, yeah, those of you who can write excellent endings, kudos to you, because that's probably where I struggle the most, because I want to make sure I get it right. So I will spend much more time fleshing out my ending to make sure that at least it doesn't suck. So those were all 10 questions. This was a fun tag to do. So thank you, both Julian and Merphy, because I enjoyed these questions, and I hope you guys, if you enjoyed these, will take time to do your own tag on it. I'd love to see it. As always, if you guys have suggestions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And if you don't want to miss when I upload, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified whenever a new video goes up. I post 2 videos a week. And until next time, you guys stay safe and have a good one.